Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, human rights advocates, and friends, good evening and welcome to the Church of Scientology as we join United for Human Rights in commemorating one of the most significant days on the global calendar, which is International Human Rights Day. My name is Armand Johnson, and I'm honored to serve as your master of ceremonies tonight. It is truly inspiring to see so many individuals gather here with a shared commitment to recognize, protect, and advance the rights and freedoms that belong to every member of the human family. Today, we celebrate the anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, a document that stands as a beacon of hope, a moral compass, a promise to all people that dignity, equality, and justice are not privileges, but inherited rights. International Human Rights Day is not just a day, it's a call to action. A reminder that human rights must be taught, defended, and lived. A reminder that we each have a role in shaping a world where freedom is protected, opportunities are equal, and every voice is valued. And that is why we are here today, to honor that promise, to recommit ourselves to making these rights a reality for everybody. The Church of Scientology sponsors these campaigns, and it is available to each one of you so that we can continue to educate others about our basic rights and human rights. Tonight, we are joined by a remarkable advocate of justice and human dignity, and I had the pleasure to find it out myself, by the way, right? We've been hanging all weekend. Someone who has dedicated his life to upholding the rule of law and illuminating the enduring struggle for equality. He is Mr. Richard H. Law, minister and author of Some Things Never Change, a work that reminds us of the timeless need for courage and conscience in pursuit of human rights. It is my great privilege to introduce our guest speaker for the evening. Please join us and give a hand to Mr. Richard Law Sr.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. I thank you, sir. It's been some couple of days. We working with human rights for a couple of days. I really enjoyed it. You run around when you run around with good people and trying to make things better for other people. I really enjoyed that. I wanted to say a word of prayer, but I wanted to thank everybody for coming. And I'm really choked up. One of my best friends, he surprised me, and my sister, my aunt, my family. I just thank each and every one for y'all coming. Take your time out, and I thank everybody in their respectable places. And thank you, Israel, for what you do. Let's say a word of prayer. God, we come to you thanking you for this day, a day that you have made, and we're going to rejoice and be glad in it. We can't do nothing without you. We acknowledging you. You're Lord of Lords and King of Kings. God, you own the world and everything that's in it. And we just thank you. We thank you for you just keeping me. Keep no hurt, harm, or danger fall upon me. And I thank you and I glorify you. In Jesus' name I pray, amen. One of the things when Israel asked me to come and speak when I first came, and I was just, a lot of times you run into people, and sometimes, well, with me, my life, I really be observant in a lot of things that's really going on, and a lot of times people, you have to look at them and the arrogance, they're not really understanding or just don't care or whatever, and when he was asking me some of those things, and I went to the scriptures, and you look in some of the situations, some people are really not qualified, and if they immature, but what I'm saying is if they're immature, you would have to be, in a sense, to be persistent in trying to keep going on. But I want to read a couple of scripture, and you'll understand what I'm talking about. And It's in Mark 4 and 25, Matthew 14 and 22, Luke 8 and 22 and 25. So I'm going to read 25 and you'll understand exactly what I'm saying. Luke 8 and 25. When Jesus, he was telling his disciples, he said, let's go to the other side of the lake. And he said, one day Jesus said to his disciples, let's go to the other side of the lake. So they went into the boat and set out. As they sailed, he fell asleep. A storm came and blew, and he was asleep. When the storm hit, his disciples was scared and felt like they was gonna drown. So now, and so that the boat was being swamped and they was in a great danger. He got up and rebuked the wind. The disciples went and woke him up and said, Master, Master, we are going to drown. He got up and rebuked the wind and raged water. The storm subsided, and all was calm. Where is your faith? He told them. Where's your faith? He asked the disciples. In fear and amazement, they asked, who's this? But what I'm saying is, they wasn't prepared. He was teaching them all the time, but they wasn't prepared. He went to sleep. They wasn't prepared. He done already told them before he went over there. He knew what they was gonna do, but they wasn't prepared. So this is what I'm saying. A lot of people. Why I'm going at this? I run into a lot of people when I used to take my mother to the doctor in different places, and when you go there and you're trying to get information from people, and they don't their perspective, they don't really don't care and don't matter. They just there to get the job. And this is what I'm saying. You don't get in different places and say, well, you get in there and work for 2 or 3 weeks and you already settled in there and you just say, well, I got the job now. It don't matter. But I want to talk on this book here. And what I'm saying is, I ran into this book is Something Never Change. And when I started with this book, the first thing I can remember when I was 17 years old, I'm just telling, I was 17, maybe 16, 17 years old, and I ran into a situation in this book that I was working on a job after school, and this guy, he had a service station. I was working with him on the service station, and me and another black guy was working on the service station. And and it was really segregated then. Why I'm saying this is because a lot of guys, they was overseas and Vietnam, and and then a lot of them was coming back. And this guy, his name was Mr. Mack, and he had a wife, and he was a short lady. But she was the boss. But he had a trailer park, service station, and he sold boats. And me and this black guy, we was in there one day, and the white guy and the black guy came in, and they wanted rented a trailer. See, he had a trailer park, and he wanted to use one of those trailers. And so he told. Before he even talked to them, he told us to step outside. So, and when he told us to step outside, I imagine it was pretty rough when he got through talking to them, because he didn't have no blacks in the trailer park, and they wanted to rent a trailer. And I didn't hear the situation, but I knew he didn't want to rent the trailer to the white and the black guy. And I lost my job there with him, because I went and I was supposed to be pumping gas, but I went out down to the dump, and I said, I'm gonna let him pump his own gas. That's the attitude I had. At that time I was young, And I turned around, I lost the job. He said, well, and he talked to James, and found out what was going on. And he said, well, that Saturday, he told me, I don't need your services. And I said, okay. He paid me more money, and I left. And so happened, I wind up, and I hopped on the bus and headed down to Miami. And I stayed with my sister and got a job on Miami Beach. you know, and that was one of the situations you run into people like that. And right here, and where I start here is that in 1982, I was supposed to have been in jail. I went to jail. I had I was drinking and driving, and I got caught, and they gave me 8 months in jail. And when I spent my time in jail, but I stayed for 4 months because the jail was overcrowded, and they released me. The Sergeant Best, my brother came, and he said, man, I'm gonna let your brother go, and I just stayed 4 months. And then I came on back down to Florida, and then I had another case in Toombs County, and then I stayed here in Florida for maybe a couple of weeks, and then I went over there and tried to got that straightened out over there. And when I got over there, they needed no black was working over there in the shop over there, and they wanted somebody black, and they gave. Well, I was in jail first. Even when I was in jail, they still took me down into the shop and work for nothing, and I stayed down there for 3 or 4 months. Then they said the lawyer said they really ain't got nothing on you. I need to take you to the judge and release you, and they did, and it was really, and they really did. And then Mayor Taylor, he gave me a job because I had done lost my job in Chatham County, and when he did that, and it wasn't not a whole lot of money. I lost a lot of money from Chatham County to Toombs County, and I stayed over there 11 years. I suffered over there 11 years, and I dealt with all of the abuse. And what happened is when I told my mother, I said, Mama, I got myself into this, and I said, I need to get myself out. And she said, okay, and I did. And she always kept up with me, and me and my mother, we was real close, and I was a baby. She was, and some of the time she would send me cakes and all that right through the jail. Well, a lot of times they send it through the commissioner's office and all that. But then I turned around and me and 5 more guys went to Chatham County one Friday, and when I did that, and they stopped us in Chatham County, and they released all the rest of them but me. And so I went, they took me to jail. And so when I did, that weekend I went to court. The same judge who sentenced me to 8 months in jail, I went before him, and he didn't dissolve that warrant when I was there the first time. So now I'm doing time for his mistake. He didn't say, well, I'm sorry. Even when you go to on a jury, they pay you for going on that. I was in jail for 3 days for nothing, but and later I didn't even say anything. But later it came. Now it's a time I can talk about it. It was 3 people in this book. 3 people in this book is Mel Taylor, James Lockley, and Mr. Martin. They would always tell me, Richard, learn as much as you can. Learn as much as you can. They was white individuals, and Mr. Martin, he was a person. He was an individual. And he was a Jehovah's Witness. He raised up hard. He would work on all kind of equipment, and I come to find out I started working with him. I worked with him 11 years. But one of the things is when I was working with him, my mother knowed how to get in touch with me. Where I was working at, she would call me. Anybody would call me on the phone, and the phone was right there. And I was Mr. Martin's helper, and I was the mechanic helper. But he would always tell me, Richard, you a smart guy, man. You could get you a better job than us. And he would always tell me that. But one of the things, I was there to the shop one day, and the guy came and he told me, he said, I was in the back, he said, Richard, I got a lot of black friends, they come to my house, but a lot of them guys don't like you, they don't want you here. And so when he said that, Mr. Martin, he said, Richard, come here. And he'll call me, he said, come here. We said, come on, let's go. I hop in the truck with him, and he would just be there at that time. He said, and he'd ask me, he said, what's going on? And then I would tell him, he said, Ken Colson pushed him up to do that. He was, this was the road supervisor over 26 other guys. He was the one who pushing them. And he said, come on, let's go get a cup of coffee. This is in this book. And when he said, one day Mr. Martin was gone, and I had a motor or something out there doing something in the shop, and he came in. Ken Colton, he came in. He said, Richard, what about could you pick up that bar because that'll be too heavy for my men? And I did. I picked it up and put it in the back of his truck, and I walked off and left. And Mel Taylor, he was the chairman of commissioners. He looked up for me all over that county, because I done walked off. See, Mel, he knew. They didn't know. They didn't care. They know they needed some blacks there to get the federal money. He was the commissioner, and he knew what they needed. They were ignorant. They didn't understand, and they didn't matter to them. So, and then a lot of them. It was amazing while I was there. I can talk about it now, but what I'm saying is now they one time they wasn't getting a Martin Luther King Day, but while I was there, they did. They didn't understand that. But they said, yeah, you go ahead. And even when I had done lost my license, Mr. Martin, like on a Friday, he would take me to the bus station to catch the bus headed to Savannah, see my mama and all that kind of stuff. They didn't know. Nobody knew but him and Mel Taylor, and that was politics with them. A lot of stuff I was working with them, and they would always tell me, say, Richard, but between me and them, Mr. Martin said, when me and you keep that to yourself. And that would, Mel Taylor would say that too. Say, Richard, if I ask you to do something, you keep that to yourself. I don't want none of them to know. But I had to deal with these other guys. And one of the things is, and I'm gonna tell you, and I had to deal with a lot of the stuff with these guys. One day, I was in the shop, and they had a heater, and I had to, me and Mr. Martin, we was gonna, he had a motor, we had to put it together. And he asked me, he said, Richard, go ahead and wash that motor while I'm gone. And you got a couple of cars out there, you could go ahead and change them all and all that kind of stuff while I'm gone. I said, okay. And I went on and doing that. And while I watched the motor, and I came in, I was standing by the heater. And I'm gonna show you that the heater was behind me like this here. About 5 or 6 guys was sitting in the chairs. And they was telling me, they wasn't telling me. I'm gonna show you. My mother always told me when I was coming up, said, Richard, she said, Ricky, if things going on, if ain't nobody saying nothing to you, just don't say anything. Just keep your mouth closed. She would tell me that. And that upbringing she taught me. And I was standing up there by the heater. They was behind me in chairs and sit down, and I was just standing up. And I knew who said it. And they said what they said was they said, my cousin married a nigger, and she had a baby from him, and I'd like to take a baseball bat and kill him. And see, where they was waiting for me to turn around and say something, but I didn't. I just act like I just didn't even hear him. And I knew who said it. I knew the voice was. And I'm gonna go a little ahead before that. even before that guy, when he died, I went to his house before then, and I prayed for him. I'm getting ahead of what I'm talking about this book. And so one of the things, the process was changing. They wanted to get, Mel had done start hiring some other blacks, and they wanted to get rid of him, and they did. They wanted to get rid of me too. So, and when they did, they took in James Taylor. James Thompson. He come down to the shop, and he came and he was on the other side. He said he reached around me and shook Mr. Martin's hand, and I didn't say anything. And me and Mr. Martin, we talked about that afterwards, because Mr. Martin, he was a pretty knowledgeable thing, but he didn't have a whole lot of education, and because he had a well service, and he would ask me to go with him, and I worked with him. I worked with him just before I had that stroke. That same day I had the stroke, I worked with him, and one of the things I found, Mr. Martin, he was having back trouble, and I was the only one working in that shop. And I was doing everything Mr. Martin was doing, and me and him would talk on the phone, and he'd tell me what this and that and all that kind of stuff. And they was he really was having back problems. And he said, he told me, and a lot of times I would have stuff I would take to his house, and me and him go in the yard, and he working on it, and I take and go and fix it and all that kind of stuff. And and one of the things is that when I went and filed that discriminational suit against Toombs County, and one of the things that, and Mr. Martin, I said the man, when I went there, they said we're gonna investigate it, and when they did, Mr. Martin told me, said the man, he came. He said I told him everything that was going on in here. He said I told him everything that was going on in here, and that he told me this. And so he was going to retire anyway. Mr. Martin, he was going to retire anyway. And what they thought that when he retired, I would take his job. But when I had that stroke in '94, and I couldn't talk for a long time. And one of the things is my mother was real. She was a strong person. Why I said that is when the ambulance, they wouldn't even take me up to the hospital. They came to the house, they wouldn't take me. They said, you can take it better than we can. And when they did, I got up there, I stayed up there just about all day. And then they turned around and a policeman came and took me to Georgia Regional. Georgia Regional, that a mental hospital. They were trying to get rid of me. And when they did that, well, my mother was sitting in a chair there at Georgia Regional. And my mother and my aunt and Cecil and my dad came there. And my mother went in there and told him, said, well, you need to take my son over there to Memorial to get him checked out first. And they did. The doctor said, I agree. And he said it's a small hospital. That's what he was saying about it was a whole small. This is another same thing. See, he was justifying about it was a small hospital. He was a doctor. And I wound up staying in Memorial for 8 or 9 days. And I couldn't talk for a long time. And I said, I could say, well, I couldn't say I need could you give me some silver? I couldn't pronounce that. I said, I can't tie my shoes. I couldn't do anything. And my mother, she was angry with those folks. And when she came down, she said, well, she called them and she apologized to them. My mother done gone on with the Lord, but she taught me so many things. And I stayed with my mother for a while. And she would take me to different places, when I was over the Memorial and I was in intensive care when I got out. The lady who was in accounting, she wanted to know how they was gonna get paid. And so my mother, I couldn't talk at that time. So my mother was telling the lady, she said, no, let him talk. And she said, he can't talk. So when she did that, she said, well, and she understood, and then she said, well, she went on and she called Toombs County, and they wasn't giving no information. But they were taking money out of my check every week for insurance and all that kind of stuff. And but they wasn't giving no information. And they took in, when they did that, they said, well, I had to go to speech therapy. And the lady without speech therapy, she said, well, we're gonna try to get you to be able to write a check. In my mind, I listened to it, but I said, I need to be able to do more than be able to write a check. That's what my thinking was. And my mother, we took, and they wouldn't give me no kind of workman's comp or nothing like that. Only thing I was getting was $27 worth of food stamps. And when I did get that, I didn't say anything, but I'm just saying, working all on these jobs, taking money out of my and they're gonna give me $27 worth of food stamps. What I did, told my mother got the $27 worth of food stamps, and they used it to buy stuff for the Bible study, and I survived. And it was, and I'm gonna say this here before this here. My brother, my oldest brother, he passed. I didn't grieve. My daddy passed. I didn't grieve. My son passed. I didn't grieve. My mother passed. I didn't grieve. Why I didn't grieve? Because me and my mother used to walk a lot, and she kept talking, and she was telling me a lot of things, and she would tell me, she said, Ricky, Ricky, don't worry about those folks. She said, no weapon formed against you shall prosper. She said, it may form, but it's not gonna prosper. And she would always can tell me that. And even when I was going through therapy, then they still wanted me to pay my insurance on that job. And they took the little money I had in the bank to pay the insurance, because they still were trying to get rid of me. But when this doctor gave me some coated aspirin and had a hole lining in my stomach, and then I would wind up right back in the hospital again. And I said to myself, well, I know that job, it was too much going on. And I said, that wasn't what the Lord wanted me to do. And I thought about it, and when I had that, I was thinking about, when I had that stroke and coming out of it, and I was staying with my mother and father, and I was in there. There was a room and TV in the room and all that, and I was in the room by myself, and I would stay in that room and wouldn't see nobody, and all I was doing is staying in there, and the Lord, He was dealing with me, taking me through these different scriptures, and I stayed there and stayed there and stayed there. For 2 or 3 months, I stayed there. And then I started coming out and sitting in Bible study with Mama and my daddy. My mother and the rest of the people in the Bible study. And I was, Alan, it was about like you saw me on Collins Avenue, but I do know. And so what happened is, before I went back on a job, and the coated aspirin that had a hole in the line of my stomach, and I was back in the hospital again. And I didn't go that time. They said, well, you need to, I went to Social Security, and the lady filled the people out, and they denied it. And then the second time that they fill it out again, and I didn't hear anything from it. And so what happened is the lady, no, the mailman, he called me. One Saturday morning, he said, man, I got something for you. He said, I got something for you. And he said, when he said that, and he just went around in his thing, and he said, and so they sent me a check, and the lady called me that Monday morning and said, you approved on Social Security. So, but but this is not over. I still listen to my mother. she always talk to me and tell me. When one of the things is when I ride through Toombs County when I'm going to Atlanta. I went up there one day and I gave a lot of my books right into that courthouse. I made sure every one of them had one. Walked through every one of the courthouses and found out how many of them in this office, and I gave each one of them one. And then I hopped on the road, headed to Atlanta. But I can see a lot of things were changing up there in that Toombs County. Now, if anybody know of Toombs County, look like right now it looked like a ghost town. But it was a lot of clubs and all this kind of stuff, and all that was going on. But you can't take when you get home, go to Joshua the 7th chapter. When they took some of the God devoted stuff, they lost everything. They couldn't fight against nobody. They couldn't fight against nobody. So what I'm saying is you can't just do people all kind of ways and figure you're going. And you know, in this book, the federal was involved in it. Federal government was involved in it. Because what I said is because the federal guy told me to go ahead and pursue it. And then they done already bought the attorney I had, they done bought him, see. They done give him another job. So they was involved in it. That's the same thing I was saying is that when I was in New York, I did a podcast in New York, and he asked me, what do I think about had things changed? No, it hadn't changed. It hadn't changed a bit. What I'm saying is I drunk driving, did my time, 4 months in jail, 8 months in jail, 3 months in jail for drunk driving. Now Donald Trump, he had 44, all of these felons he had. And all of these people who are not qualified working for him. I mean, and now he's the president of the United States. And they turned around and this judges in New York told him, said, well, when he went before him and he had all of these Republican congressmen with him with these red ties on, and he said, well, Mr. Trump, you have all of these 40 felonies and I can't do anything about it because the people want you. So now, and it's really, I can't even get the money I'm supposed to get, but I'm gonna get it. So, and that is, I'm telling you, this is a true story, true. I can, if you read it, and I'm gonna tell you, when you get this book, it says one of the amazing things happened is they wanted to in Toombs County. They said, well, he, imagine what they say. This nigga, he figured he got so much sense, but God was using me. They didn't understand that. So now they turned around, and this is he said. Dr. Barber leaned down and said, this is the 11th chapter in this book. He said, Dr. Barber, he said, he leaned down and said, we're going to watch you, which made me real nervous. That's what he said. He made me, and at that time it made me real nervous when he said that, because I was there by myself, and he said that, and he's a white doctor and all that. He's a white doctor. But he turned around, they supposed to have been checking my heart, but they turned around and they put a track on the inside of me. It's there. And so now, what I'm saying is sometimes I could, but and that's why they're gonna have to do something, because you can't touch God's anointed. What can you do? Do like you wanna. But when he said, we're gonna watch you. And that's what the doctor said. That's evil. And I'm gonna go back to this doctor. I'm gonna tell you this judge, what I was telling you. So a lot of things that done changed, and I done start getting around and working with the community and all that kind of stuff and all that. And then I turned around. I was working on the History Board of Review downtown, and Michael Brown, he was going to retire in Savannah, Chatham, he was the city manager, and he was going to retire. And so happened the same judge who gave me 8 months, he pops up. You know, I had on a suit, then none changed and all that kind of stuff, and you know, and he said, "You ain't nothing but a criminal anyway." But now he said that. Then I got a couple of people down there to that same courthouse. I talked about that stuff too. When I talking, I'm talking not to him about what he said to show you he is a racist. He figured he just gonna say that, and he had 2 other guys with him, and I'm not gonna say anything about it. So, and I get into these meetings and I just talk about it, and they hoping they'll shut me up. But I just thank each and every one of y'all for coming, listening to my grieving. I imagine it's grieving because well, a couple other people told me, say you need to grieve. You need to grieve. One day I will. Might be in the grave, but I will. But I'm working on a second book, and this this book is amazing. And this second book, I'm really excited about it because a lot of people are in that next book. My sister, she'll be in that next book. Marvin, he will be in that next book. My aunt, she'll be in that next book. But why I'm saying this is, and Alan gonna be in my next book. That why? Because I love them people. I mean, I tell you, my sister and Marvin, and I could always, I can remember I would drive down to Miami and I'd be just as high as I wanna. And I'd sit in the front yard, and neither sister would come out and put a rag on my face to try to wake me up. And one of the things that I always talk about now is that one of the things is Marvin, I've never got a ticket in Miami. I got places everywhere else, but in Miami, I never got a ticket in Miami because Marvin always drives. And I don't know whether this in the book or not. I came down here and some girls were down south or something like that, and he took me all down and we stayed down and coming back must be about 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and I know sister, she just didn't even say anything because Mom was with me. But you know, it's good. I just thank everybody for coming and listening to the things that I'm talking about in this next book. My mother and my granddaddy is in that. It's going all the way back from the 20s up into this present time. You know, and some of the things that it's going to be, some of the things that they missed way back, even when these 3 individuals got killed in Mississippi, they missed a lot of stuff back doing then. But I got that in this next book. And I tell you, and we they asked me to come to speak on human rights in this book in line with human rights. See, they took all my human rights because I didn't know no better. But a lot of people, they didn't care. That's what I'm saying. And when I went to EEOC, the people, they got information, but they didn't follow through on it. If they followed through on it, I might have not had a stroke. If the federal government would have stepped in, I probably wouldn't have had no stroke. Wouldn't have had to go through all of that. But they didn't care. They didn't care. They're doing the same thing like right now. They're doing it in Washington, D.C. What I'm saying is I was thinking about that a guy named Maxwell. He was I think he was one of the principals over there in Toombs County but he was the head of the NAACP over there at that time. But he came down to that shop and he went right back out. I met him because it was 26 white guys and me just one black, you know. But I survived. And I just thank everybody for coming out. And I'd like to my nephew Kenyatta. He got so he be doing so much stuff, and he he came down to Savannah. Him and the king came down to Savannah, and we was doing to the Dunbar River. It was where the slaves used to come in at years ago, and we did as much as we can with that at that time, because back here, right, the guy who owned the property, he don't own the dock. He owned the property, but he don't want you to go on his property. And we couldn't go to the dock on his property because he was a white man in Georgia. So but we did it, and we still working with it. But I just want to thank everybody for coming, and especially him and his wife just surprised me. They brought me over here. He brought me. We went over to. He said he came, Alan. He said, well, I'm gonna go. Come on, pick you up, and I'm gonna take you and pick my wife up. We go and eat lunch or breakfast or something like that. And we did. And he brought me all over here, and he showed me. He pointed the place out here when we were riding through here. I imagine he was telling me I'm gonna be over here anyway. Yeah. Yeah, so he stayed right around the corner. But I just thank everybody for coming and taking time out to listen. But it'll happen. It'll happen.
So what we want to do now is just get a little crowd participation, right? So what I wanted to do, one of the things I wanted to do is probably ask a couple of questions based off the 30 rights. How many of y'all know your rights? Anybody? Johnny, you know your rights? All right, so I'm gonna read the right, and then you can tell me how anything when they come to your head. I'm just gonna pick one of y'all. All right, that's cool. All right, so you can tell me how if he would have known the right, maybe he didn't go through what he wanted. All right, so let's see. So Article 2, everyone is entitled to all rights and freedoms set forth in the Declaration, which is without distinction of any kind, such as race, color, sex, language, religion, political or other opinion, national or social origin, property, birth, or other status. So what does that mean to anybody? Let me start. I could just start here and go this way. Did y'all get that? 'Cause that was a lot, right? So I'm gonna say it again. So basically what it's saying is everybody is entitled rights no matter your color, race, sex, language, religion, political or other opinion, national or social origin, property, birth, or other status. So in reference to what you heard from him, like how does that relate? Can you make the...
It doesn't relate because they didn't give him any of those rights didn't apply to him because they deemed him lesser than, and that's where we have a problem. It's when those rights, it's not given equally. So if you deem somebody lesser than, like they were deeming him at that time, then you don't get those same rights.
Okay. Johnny, how about you?
I think it's the same way. Just like actively now, our people are denied their rights simply because we're from another country and we have these aggressive laws toward immigration to the point to where it pays no attention or gives no regard to a person's humanity, or even their productivity inside of a certain element of our society. And it just stampedes all over the rights of people simply because of perception. I have friends that that they've never lived anywhere else, but just because of a perception, they've been dragged out of their job. There's different things that take place in perception, but as a foundation, I think it's a beautiful right. It's something that should be available, and it's an inalienable right. Honestly, we should all be born with that gift and that the presence of what it is that we were birthed to be able to achieve.
That's deep. Okay, so this is right number 3, and here it says Article 3, right? It says everyone has the right to life, liberty, and security of person. So my twin Marvin, what you think about that? Yeah, I said my twin Marvin. I just switched the clothes. That's all.
Oh, okay. Well, I think myself, I'm a marcher. So you march for your rights and stuff. I asked the woman, would it be okay if I march? I had to get the okay from her. you know, put my life out there. And I worked at Jackson Hospital, segregated there. You couldn't even eat, you can work. And I raised so much sense. I got fired here. But I was fired up. You know, I finished high school in 1960, and there was a guy that I worked with. He was black. He finished in 1959. I said, let's go down and integrate McCory's. We went there, and what I liked was chocolate, milkshake, hamburger, fries, and so I just ordered it, and they served it to me. I didn't eat it. I knew there was no spit in it and stuff, you know. And so I said, and I had my friend. He did the same thing. So, but during that time when I was marching, I had a gun on me. Nobody didn't know it, you know. Had it right on my, you know. Put ketchup on my head, talking about nigger dog if you want it.
You had the right.
But I, you know,
Right.
but I, you know, I'm not gonna die, you know.
Right.
I'm gonna try to live. I want to be here forever and a day,
That's good.
you know. So, as far as what you just asked about, some of that's true, you know.
Okay. So we're gonna do a couple more, and then I'm gonna have Brother Long, show you the rest of the rights. Oh,
If they want to.
yeah, after we. All right. So you want to go ahead and ask a question?
No, you go ahead.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, so Article 5 says no one shall be subjected to torture or cruel, inhumane, or degrading treatment or punishment. So, moms, what do you think about that when it comes to your brother and the alignment of this book or whatnot?
Well, back in the day, we were not allowed, I guess being black, they would take they thought the white people thought they was privileged, and they would take your rights because you didn't know, they felt like you didn't know no better, or they felt like they could do more to you than you allowed them to do, and not say anything. Mr. Charlie would let you know, and then that. Working on Miami Beach, we were not, to go and work on Miami Beach, we would have to have a beach card, the black card. You would have to have a card to get on the beach to work. Then they would stop the bus to check the cards to make sure everybody was allowed to come on the beach.
Stopping the bus, but I know I had to have the car.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I didn't even
yeah.
know what the car was
just
for. I
say
had
that.
to have it too. I didn't even know. I thought it was just
Let me
a
say one thing.
identification. Well, it was a
A lot of
identification.
times this is good
After 6
because
o'clock.
a lot of people it comes from everywhere, right? And they don't know the true history of the land that they come to, right? If they don't meet, you know, they learn we learn from each other.
Each other.
So a lot of times my elders, right, they died for a lot of rights here.
Amen.
The human rights in this country, my elders died for it.
That's right.
A lot of my peers don't know that, right? So it's good for them to hear that from y'all. So you speak on.
Yeah, no, I wanted to say, we have a cousin, he did a ancestry history on our family.
Right.
And that everybody didn't just come from Africa, like we Free Nation people, we would never been to Africa. So, when they be saying about everybody go back to Africa, they don't realize that everybody didn't.
If you from Florida,
No,
90, I'm just saying, if you from Florida, 90% of us are natives.
Exactly.
Now that don't mean that we don't have a connection to Africa, because I think a
Right.
lot of
No, I'm
times
not
when
saying that we
people,
don't have a
no, I'm with
connection.
you, because me, my family are Seminole.
Well, we're
That's-
Cherokees.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so
Cherokee,
so a lot of times when you say that, people think that you're trying to disconnect, and that's not what you're doing.
No.
It's just that some of us are natives here. A lot of us are, and some of us did come after
Well, on the
they
state,
seized
yes.
it, then they
Right,
came.
right,
But
right.
it was us. It was some of us already here. So
Exactly. No, but I just found out, like I say, our original, like Indian and like I say, Free Nation.
right,
I just learned that before they started, the white man come here and stole the land
correct.
from the Indians and the Mexican and
Green for gold.
right.
Native American.
I just learned that they tried to enslave some of the blacks that was already here. You know, they come to take over. And some of them had to sue them to get their freedom back.
That's
And
true.
I just found this out, you
Yeah.
know, because it was free nation and they didn't have, the white man come here. and he
So,
took over.
is it safe to say that some of us did know our right, did not
They
know
their
our human
They had to
rights?
sue to get their freedom back.
Right. So let me ask you guys this: do you guys think that if people knew their rights, would it, or maybe they forgot, would that make a difference? I guess I asked.
It will make a difference if you know your rights, but then there are, you know, roadblocks, yes, because the white people, they think they are privileged and they think they are better than you are, so, and they get together, well, like Trump is doing now.
Wanna
The
take
same
people's
thing,
rights
what
away.
he's doing right now is wrong. He has no right to get up and overrule the laws that are already here. The laws are set and they are supposed to be for everybody to follow and go. But he is over the Supreme Court because they are in his pocket. The governors, some of them, the red states are in his pockets. So they just take it over and doing what they want to do because you have a certain amount of people to let them do the things that they want to do. So when you try to fight back, then you go to jail.
Understood. So,
Let me answer this question for you. I'm gonna tell you, and I'm gonna tell you spiritual principles on that what you're talking about. Is the people wanted back during then, and they wanted a king. They wanted a king. Listen to me. They wanted a king, and the only way they could do it, they went to Samuel. Samuel was the prophet. They went to him and told him, said, "We want a king."
Yeah, God told them, said that y'all, that's what y'all want, I'm gonna give it to you.
And so when they did, Samuel went and talked to the Lord about it. He just didn't. And when Samuel went and talked to the Lord, and the Lord said, "Well, you go and tell them." He told, "You go and tell the leaders, tell them what that king's gonna do with them." And so when they and then they went back to Samuel. The Lord told him, "Well, let him go ahead and give him a king.
I'm not finna
Go ahead and get him a king." And so now they gave him a king. They gave him a king. But you see where you at now.
Yeah, and that's where they all at now.
Yeah.
They asked for this,
Yeah.
and they getting what they asked for.
Yeah.
So with that, we're gonna wrap it up because we got graduation. But I do want y'all to check graduation now, if y'all could. What I want to do is take a group picture, right? I want everybody to grab a info kit, right? And then I want you to take them out and show them the panels, and we're gonna get some footage, and we're gonna keep this going. This is not gonna be like a one and done thing. I'm gonna keep, working with my brother here. We're gonna keep him getting, educate him on this as much as I can. Educate myself too, because he probably more educated than me on it. I'm just free spirited by nature, So with that being said, we're gonna wrap everything up. I'm gonna take a group picture, and then we can go out here and check the panel.